Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Overlap Podcast with me, Sid Sexton, and my good friend Keith Glines. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Sid.
And, again, if you're a first-time listener or just coming back, the Overlap Podcast is where we discuss the overlaps within life, family, business. That's parenting, management, really how you show up for the workout is how you're going to show up for work, and how there really is no compartmentalization in life. Getting better and striving to achieve for excellence in one aspect of life really does overlap into other aspects of your life. Building those disciplines just affect everything else, and that's what we've been discussing for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, I think a little over 2, huh?
Yeah, I think so. It's time flies when you're having fun.
A little over 2 years, and then we decided last week to mess the podcast up, stick our faces on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm still not sure that I'm good with that.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's a necessity.
Okay.
People want to see us.
I'll trust the creative marketing guys.
Yeah, well, maybe too. We'll find some creative marketing guys. I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to partner with us, you can. We're not hard to find at theoverlaplife.com, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But
all
man,
right.
I've had overlaps this week everywhere.
Okay, tell me about that.
Family, like you said, family, fitness, not getting the fitness too much.
I was going to say, you're just leaving yourself wide open for that one.
I know. I was ready for it. But man, it's been a week.
Yeah, it has. We have talked quite a bit offline, and it has been a week.
People are dealing with stuff.
Yeah, man. It must be the season. I don't know.
It may be. I think around the holidays, though, I think people sometimes really struggle around the holidays.
I hear that. I understand that. That is not me.
That is not me.
Just being honest about it.
Not me either. I've always been kind of laid back at the holidays.
Me too. I feel like, and maybe it's the industry that I'm in. I'm sort of made it through the really tough time, and I'm coming, and like this is planning season, and it's wrapping up, and that takes a lot of my time and energy and effort. And then once the plan is set, I feel great about the next year, and I'm able to enjoy the holidays. And I love it, man.
I kind of shut down at the holidays as far as like business wise. I don't have nobody wants to launch a book around the holidays because no one reads in the holidays.
Do they not?
No, I mean they're thinking about
more.
They're thinking about family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you don't want to tell someone to buy a new book.
Oh yeah,
until the first of the year.
That's a good point.
You know, you want to create all new like mindsets at the first of the year. That's when people start working out.
Trust me. We had a meeting the other day at RX, just like how are we going to facilitate the influx of people? Do we have a plan?
People integrate Jesus into their life at the first of the year. You know, they stay like pagan until through Christmas, and then they're like, we need something different.
Yeah.
You know, I think all things different starts at the first.
Well, new year, new you, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Until March.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Until March, then it drops. Then all of it drops back off.
Is that after Easter? Hey, here's a question. How's that Easter thing? Not Easter thing. I don't mean that. Yeah. I don't mean to minimize it, but it's like a different day all the time. How is that figured out?
I don't know. You mean, when Jesus rose from the dead, how that changes?
But if we're on a 365-day calendar, why is it a different time every year?
Because I really don't know that.
Okay.
I've wondered that.
I'm good with that.
I've wondered that also.
Austin can tell us.
Yeah, well,
we'll put it in the show notes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, this will be a question that people need to answer in the comments. Why does that happen?
Someone's gonna tell us, and I feel bad for not knowing, but only a little bit, because I feel like that's. I don't know that I need to know that one to be fully Christian.
I don't think I do. I've never even thought about it until you just brought it up.
I don't need to know how electricity works, but I do know that it works. I flip that light switch, boom, it's on. That's my
I really
thought.
don't care to know how it works.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we got a little bit off there. That's all right.
I know. We do that every once in a while.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Ask Forrest.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. Okay, hey, so today we're on camera. So I went ahead and got us a prop. I propped up the book
we're
because
super official.
We are official.
We've mentioned this book about 100 times, so it's finally time to do it.
And we've got some subtle ad play. Like ad what do you call this? Is that ad placement?
Yeah, go to overlaplife.com, click on the AG1 button.
Yeah.
You can get it there.
I'm a fan. Okay, but to today's topic, we're talking about a book that we have really been referencing for months now, right?
Right. I don't know that there's a book in the last 5 years, probably 10 years, that I have been drawn to so much, and that's changed my viewpoint really in life.
Yeah, and Keith is prone to some hyperbole here. I don't know if you've picked up on that sometimes, but like he's not lying. This one really did change me quite a bit, and we're talking about 10x is easier than 2x. I rejected the book without even like giving it a chance at first because of the name and the whole 10x Grant Cardone thing.
Oh,
and
yeah. I read the Grant Cardone book, and so when we were at
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, okay.
And quite frankly, I didn't get anything from it.
Well, yeah, how could you? Maybe you could. Maybe you get some inspiration.
Maybe.
But okay, so go ahead.
And so we were at the EOS conference, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy was speaking.
Right, and I was psyched for that. And he passed it out. He passed the book out.
He did. And then coming home on the plane, I just opened it up. And I was immediately drawn to it because it talks actually about the psychology of being able to go 10x.
Yeah, that was really, and you started talking about that, and I was like, oh, yeah, he is a psychologist.
And I don't think there's been anyone that it's one of our past guests just a couple weeks ago, Forrest. I don't think there's been anyone that read that book that has taken it as drastic as he did.
Yeah, he's a man of action.
I mean, he like rocked his whole world after reading it.
Yeah, it did.
So,
hey, I'm not knocking him for it,
No, I wouldn't either.
It's working out well for me.
I mean, it's working out well for me. Now, like, just because of his association to you, we get him on the podcast.
I know.
So
it's working out great.
He facilitated our L10,
our quarterlies. Okay, so we're talking about 10x is easier than 2x. We're really talking about this book because we started this podcast. The entire podcast was started with the foundational books that really shaped my thoughts towards entrepreneurism. Is that a word? It shaped my path as an entrepreneur. That's probably more appropriately said. And I felt that it was really appropriate that we talked about this because it is creating maybe a new branch in that whole entrepreneur path, because it did open me up to think about things way differently than I had. And let's just start it off by saying it's a book by, let's say this first, Dan Sullivan is kind of the inspiration for it, and he's a consultant and has owned and operated Strategic Coach. That's a consulting group that he's had for a long time, and he's been very successful. Like, I've heard his name for a long time.
So Dan Sullivan's really popular for many books. So
yeah,
he creates really great ideas.
Yeah,
So Ben Hardy has taken 3 of his ideas now and made them into mainstream book.
Yeah, it's Who Not How, right?
Who Not How and Gap in the Gain.
The Gap in the Gain, that's right. Who Not How rocks my world.
I just finished The Gap in the Gain, and it is excellent as well.
Hey, for those of you that do read during the holidays, this is probably a good podcast for you, because I'm telling you, it's a great book. So then, also, the true author is Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's an organizational psychologist. really what he does, he studies people and organizations and how they succeed, why they don't succeed. Where are what are the traits, what are the trends, what are the crucial factors that create success or failure. Right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I started digging into him also after we saw him at the conference. And so there's a platform called Medium. It is basically a blog, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he became kind of well known on Medium.
Yeah.
And hundreds of millions of views of his articles there. So if you want to look him up, you can go all the way back there. And he talks a lot about organizational leadership there as well. So it's a good tool.
And he was kind of writing that as he was going after his PhD, right?
Yeah, he was.
In that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's when that platform really just, 6-7 years ago became pretty prevalent. I write there some.
Okay.
You can go see my papers there.
Hundreds of millions of views?
No, not hundreds of millions of views there.
Well, we could add those to the dozens of listeners. And
That's right.
Dozens of viewers.
I know. My mom dropped off.
Yeah, my mom doesn't know how to get on YouTube, even though it's on her TV. Oh, well. All right. Well, how do you want to get started on this?
Well, I think so. First off, I think that the title's hokey.
The title's hokey. Get past that, please.
I mean,
it's worth it.
Yeah, get past that because when I saw the book, I was like, another gimmick.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, and so then I just had to dig in, and I think that's what we do now is just kind of dig into where the introduction is mind-blowing.
I thought the introduction was good.
Michelangelo is, one, it made me feel very cultured to even know anything. I knew he did the David.
Yeah.
Right?
I did. Fun fact, I have seen that.
Really?
Yeah. It's legit. Either way, keep going. So,
parts of it is not legit from the picture.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that. Yeah. That's okay.
And so the way that he set the book up was very interesting, talking about
let's talk about Michelangelo.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he does keep referencing it throughout. And it was kind of nice. I see what you're getting at there, that like as you go through the book, he keeps referencing things that he brought up before too, and starting with Michelangelo.
Right. And so if you look at his life and what
Michelangelo.
What Benjamin Hardy was saying is that if we look at our lives and turn it back on ourselves, we've 10x'd and we don't even realize it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and so he kind of introduces the book that way as saying, hey, the mindset of 10x is not that you have to hit it every time, but just acknowledging the places where you've already done it.
Yeah.
And so that kind of really stuck out to me. And so when I started...
Yeah, that was like chapter 4 or 5 where it's uncover 10x past and clarify your 10x
later,
future.
But he did that through the introduction as well.
Okay.
And so I really, that's really what sucked me into the book.
So the story of Michelangelo that kind of stuck out to me was that, and I'm trying to get into it for the listener, is that he really went deep, and instead of like wide and shallow, he went narrow and deep on anatomy first, right? He wanted to be a sculptor, and so he was trying to figure out the human body and all that stuff, and he went ahead and paid a freaking what do you call those people? Like, would it be a mortician? Yeah, but I think they used another word. But either way, he paid a guy to go and like essentially do autopsies and like peel skin back and look at muscle striation and how they were all connected and all that stuff.
He bribed.
I know, he bribed the guy. Yeah,
just to sleep in the. Could you imagine sleeping in the morgue?
Yeah, well, he would stay up at night to do the work, and then he would get up in the morning and go
and then get out
do his
before
real
anybody
job.
Got back in. Yeah,
because he could like get sentenced to death or something for whatever you call it, like defacing or a dead body. So he went really deep with that to then be able to become something different than everyone else, you know? So I thought that was pretty good. And he starts explaining that was kind of the 10X beginning, finding something that he can be world class at, you know, and really driving towards that.
And it's kind of, a lot of business books talk about it, but it's the 80-20 rule.
Oh, yeah.
And the book kind of goes through finding your 20, right?
Yeah.
So 20% of our
time.
actions, 20% of our actions is going to produce
80% of the results. 20%
So
of your
why
customers.
in the world would you ever do the 80, right?
I can tell you that there's some reasons to do that, but in this context, though, he's talking about the 80% of the stuff that you do, or the roles and responsibilities, or the things that you take on, distract you from your 20%.
Yeah, the first chapter is the surprising simplicity of 10X growth.
Yeah,
And anytime I read that too, I'm like,
yeah. Hokey.
But when you get down to it, he talked about, do you remember? So he was talking about his son in tennis.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about, okay, so what are the options to go 2X? Right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
The options to go 2X they're infinite. You can just work harder and get to 2X. And think about it.
You could have a regular coach. You could practice Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. You could go to local tennis tournaments. You could just play for your high school, you know, that kind of stuff.
But think about the application in business. So when we do our goals at the end of the year, I caught myself saying, man, it'd be nice to just double.
Yeah, to 2X it.
To 2X it.
Well, yeah. We have read this so much that I think we're like even jumping around, because I was about to jump in there and say, well, sometimes doubling is 10X, because 10X isn't quantity, it's qualitative. It's not quantitative, it's qualitative. Doubling could be 10X because the quality of your life, the product, the business structure, the culture, whatever it is you're trying to 10X, is not necessarily a 10X jump in revenue. It's a 10X jump in quality, right?
Right.
I mean, sorry, we are all over on that, man.
However, trying to double, though. So I talked to an entrepreneur last week. His business doubled in 1 year. He lost money.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't calculate. He just said, I worked harder.
Yeah.
I hired more people. I did it all wrong.
Well, that goes back to that plan, building an appropriate plan, like we talked about, was that the last podcast? But
yeah.
Either way, the point of the plan is to protect or increase enterprise value. That's it, man. And so if your plan is to, we're going to grow by 22%, well, what does that actually mean? And what are we trying to get to? What's the end goal? Or do you just try to make a statement that's fluffy, you know?
Right.
I think those two things work together. You know, the plan and 10X thinking forces you to think deeper, because just throwing out a quantifiable number doesn't necessarily solve the problem that you're trying to solve for, or get you to the life that you're trying to get to.
But the simplicity of 10X is what he is saying.
So drive it home on that. You're right.
It's basically this. There's far less options to 10X than there is doubling. Yeah. When you think about it.
Oh, yeah. So unpack that a little bit for the
audience.
So
in his story about his son and the tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So his son's a very high-level tennis player.
Yeah.
Gonna go to college playing tennis. Could easily.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go pro?
That's a way different deal.
And he talked about it. He said he lives in Orlando. He said the options of coaches are infinite to take him to the college level. The options to take him to the pro level, only a couple.
Yeah.
So the options that you have when you look at your company and want to take it to the highest level and become the best in the world, it's easier to become the best in the world than be average.
Well, it's easier to make the choice on what you have to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's harder to
do it.
But
right.
but what you're saying is it's easier to gain focus and clarity on what is required to get there. If that's what you decide you want to do, it's easier to focus on that because it cuts out all the other chatter, all the other noise, all the other distractions, all the other options. If we're going to go 10x in this or pro in tennis, we're going to use this coach and we're going to do exactly what they say. We're going to eat exactly what they tell us to eat. We're going to sleep on that schedule. We're going to train on that schedule. We're going to actually leave our school with our friends and our family. We're going to be at this academy, and that's our life. We're dedicating ourselves to this for a shot at being pro.
And if you look at it, there's limiting your options to go to a greater height.
Yeah.
That's how he's saying it.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's all the other options and all the other decisions that you would make to just double.
Yeah.
Are done away with. And you only have these few things to think on.
So I think, and this is where, and I cut you off when you were trying to get that, but I'm going to circle back around. The easy part that they're talking about dovetails so well with the planning podcast that we had last week or the week before. It's been a long week or 2 weeks. Either way, it dovetails easy with that because the hard part in coming up with strategic initiatives or a strategic plan is gaining clarity on what it is you're trying to go after and how you're going to get there. The clarity is what's hard because there are lots of options and what's the real problem and all that stuff. But if you decide something like I want to go pro or something like we're going to double or whatever it is, whatever the stated goal is, the bigger it is, the less options you have, the more clarity you gain. It might be more scary, but you gain way more clarity on what your options are and what you have to do to get there. That's what he's saying, that it's easier. And so there's a misconception and I'm sure. Look, man, it sounds like ChatGPT came up with the titles of the book, title of the book, and the title of the chapters, but there's lots more depth to it than that.
Well, and I think that's done intentionally when you talk about someone that can bend your mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably,
this dude is his doctorate in mind bending. If you want to look at it, yeah, organizational psychology or.
Is that mind bending?
Well, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. How to manipulate the mind to lead is basically is basically what his degree is in. So, but that's all great. But even in what you do, if you say, I just walked on one of your jobs, right? This morning.
We were at one, yeah.
And so it would be much easier for you to say, I just want those jobs that I'm doing, than to take all the rest, right? This level of job, this is my new standard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would pretty much be 10xing for you, right? And then if you put it in my perspective, so there's only a few people I could create content with that would lead me to being the best in the world.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
There's only so many of the jobs that you can take along the bay of Mobile Bay.
It's true.
Instead of moving up the hill, right?
Yeah, right.
So if you said, I want to do all of these jobs.
We're only doing these. This is what we're focused on. We're limiting our options, our decisions, our choices, and focusing all in on this. And to get the best best in the world at this thing, right?
And think about how much clutter that would take away in your organization.
I don't know if that works for us, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
Same thing with you. So audience, hopefully you've gathered that like from the intro and the first the first chapter is we're trying to break down the kind of the hokiness of the name, but also kind of lay the groundwork for the book, that the easy part is limiting your options to really hone in on what it is that you're trying to 10x at. Be the best be the best in the world in this, and it makes it easier to understand what it is you have to do to get there.
10x thinking equals striving for seemingly impossible goals.
Yeah. If it doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough. That kind of thing. The quality of everything you do. That's the next chapter, and that's where it really started to change for me too. And we've already mentioned this, and I think you and I mentioned this off a line, that this book is probably so in us that it's hard for us to even
skim over it.
People might not even believe us sometimes, but we do have notes and we've got outlines here, and we're trying to follow them. But this book is kind of so much ingrained in our life right now, and we're sort of going after these things that it's tough for us to stay real focused on it. But the quality of everything you do, it really sort of plays back to what I said, is that that 10x is qualitative, not quantitative, and holistic throughout your life. And there's like really the overlaps, This is where it started to become an overlapped concept for me, that it's not just dollars, it's time, it's freedom, it's whatever it is, it's health, it's longevity, it's mental health, it's relational, I want to 10x my marriage. That sounds kind of crazy, but if you start peeling that onion back, it's like, what is that? Well, we spend time together. We get along. We're finishing each other's sentences. We care for each other. We're raising children together. We're on the same team. That kind of stuff. So the quality of everything you do. What was your take on this? And we'll get into how it starts off, but it's my broad overview.
It's kind of the same as you were saying. Would I love to have 10 times more money than I have now? Sure.
Yeah.
Or would I take that to fulfillment?
Yeah.
Because, sure, I could go after 10 times more money. But that probably would creep into some unfulfillment in other places.
Well, so saying yes to 10 times more money is saying no to lots of other things, because to get there, you're going to limit everything, all the other distractions that it's going to take to get there. And so I don't know that for me to get to 10x more money is not something that I'm willing to trade, because I think, and I'm sure I've heard this somewhere, but dollars, money, those are just freedom tickets. And all I really want with the money is what it can buy me, and what it can buy me is more time. It could buy me more convenience. It could buy me, because, how many hats do we need? You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. But really what you start using it for is some of it's happiness, some of it's comfort, but I think it all boils down to freedom.
Leaving on a Friday.
Yeah.
To go choke people.
Yeah, to go to a jiu-jitsu tournament.
That's right. Right? And the ability to do that, if I was just after the 10 times the money,
it's not possible.
Couldn't do it.
Not
right?
possible. Yeah.
So that's what the quality of everything we do means.
I know. And 10x is qualitative, not quantitative. Let's dig into a little bit in the chapter. Was the finance guy, right? Just out of college. He gets a job. I think it's Merrill Lynch. I can't remember exactly. And he's new and he's upcoming. He goes through the training and all of that stuff, and everyone starts doing their thing. And I can't remember how it started or where the idea came to the guy, Chad Willardson. I do have that note down. But he just early on in the process made the statement to himself and to everyone else that he was only going to deal with clients that had $100,000 or more to invest.
And that seems like...
And I think this was a while back, like 25 years ago.
So 25 years ago, that was a pipe dream to think of a new finance guy coming out.
Well, and that's what his managers, that's what all of his peers said. He's like, it's virtually impossible.
You know what that story made me think, though? Do I have expectations for myself?
What do you mean?
Meaning, it made me ask the question to myself, do I have expectations like that I have a goal or rule in my life that this is what I'm pursuing and this is all that I'm pursuing, and this is the boundary that I set for myself to pursue excellence in whatever it may be. You know, working with, do I work with these type of people or those type of people, or do I make exceptions? And so what I got from that was, you know, he went for a long time without signing anyone.
Yeah. Well, and it talked about it in the book where he was the first guy in the office. He was the last one to leave. He cold called tons of people. I think he got a list of potential clients. He studied for, other certifications. He read finance books. He did all the things. He put in the work. And then eventually someone that sold their business and was ready to retire called him up with $600,000, and boom, there he was. He was on track. And then after one came another. And then the next.
So if you look at what he actually did, he 6-timed.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
So by having a boundary, by having a goal,
a clear focus,
he 6-timed his initial goal.
You know what that whole thing, and you're right, but you know what that whole thing made me think about is that we're not responsible for the outcome. We're only responsible for the footwork. You ever heard that?
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know where I don't know where I heard that. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere, but I have been saying that a lot, man. Especially if you've got a kid in sports, and is trying to make it on a team or something like that. I'm like, dude, you can't worry about any of that stuff. Don't worry about who's getting reps or any of that. You just worry about what you're gonna do, because you're not responsible for the outcome. You're only responsible for the effort, your attitude, how you show up. That's what you're responsible for. The things that you can control, everything else will take care of itself if you stay focused on that. That guy, he read self-help books, he read finance books, he got more certifications and all the letters after your name and all that stuff. He also called clients too. He cold called a bunch of people. He reached out to as many people as he possibly could. He said he called thousands of people, thousands of no's, thousands of people going, please don't call me ever again. Please remove me from your list. And he just kept grinding, and boom, it came. He wasn't afraid. He had humility. Imagine how much humility you have to just keep getting no and just keep going in the same direction.
But it didn't. I'm sure it wasn't perceived as humility when he walked in the office and said, hey, guys, I only take these type of clients.
That's true. That's a good point. Oh, wow. How about that?
Hey, I'm brand new up in this office.
Yeah.
But, hey, mister that's been doing finance planning for 20 years, that you still have smaller clients than this, I don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so a lot of times being excellent in everything you do means also probably taking some heat from people thinking that you're prideful.
The duality of man.
You didn't realize I was going to get philosophical.
Yeah, the duality of man, to have to be to have the wherewithal to set high goals and to work towards them, but the humility to take 100 no or 1,000 no's before you finally break through. Ooh.
Sometimes you have to look naive to excel.
I have looked plenty stupid.
Yeah.
But, in a peer group where I was doing pretty well and saying, "Hey, look, I'm not designing and selling anymore." And then people are like, "What? Oh my God, why would you do that?" And I'm like, man, I'm always going to be the bottleneck here. If everything comes through me and, I get caught up that it's my name and they're wanting to deal with me, I can't grow and scale. And people thought that was crazy. And all those people are still at the same level that they're at.
Right.
Okay. So that is
the quality
of everything you do. And we didn't really set it up. So this book is set up into two segments. The first 3 chapters are principles, and then the last 3 chapters are application. So the last chapter on principles, chapter 3, was 10x embraces abundance and rejects scarcity. So I'm just going to wind up Keith and let him go on this because it has the word abundance and scarcity. So he's got opinions on that. So what are your opinions, Keith?
A philosophy of lack never works.
It really doesn't.
And how many times do we go into a situation thinking about what we don't have versus what we do and what we potentially can do? I've even caught myself in the lack mentality.
It's easy. It's easy to do that because it's safe. It's safe to just think, oh, well, there's only this. It's playing it safe, right?
Right.
That's playing it safe all the time.
And not realizing that you have a especially in the industry that I'm in content production, there's a lot bigger content firms than me.
I would say that in all industries, in every industry, there's always bigger people.
There's a lot of times that I look at what we do and how we do it and say, well, I can't accomplish that because I don't have this. Instead of looking at the advantages that being smaller gives me, which is quickness. There's a saying called that a friend of mine always tells me, it's not the strong and powerful that win in business, it's the quick. And when you look at, especially in startups and anything technologically, think about the winners. They're always the quick ones to the market, right?
Nimble
and quick.
Yeah.
So you may be smaller than your competitors, but can you do it quicker?
I also think, can you find a game within whatever you're playing that you can actually win? So if there's bigger competitors and all that stuff, well, maybe you don't play the same game that they're playing. You just play a different game, Maybe you don't go after Pepsi, and Bud Light and come up with those stupid, ads. Maybe you go with the local regional person and give them a little bit more personal touch and have a little bit more creativity on it and build more trust and rapport with them. And that's a game that you can win. So the abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset, in my mind, what he's talking about. So 10x embraces abundance. My mind should be open that all things are possible, that there is a way to get to almost anything that I truly want. And that's what he was really talking about is don't be afraid of your wants. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. That is, that rocked my world.
Right? We talked about that for weeks. We are taught growing up. Remember when you would grow up and you would want like a Lamborghini, and your mom, my mom, whatever, they were trying to protect us because they thought that and that's really like a motherly instinct is like, oh, you don't need that. Don't waste your money on that. And I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a Lamborghini or a brand new Corvette, Brian Hodges, but they're trying to keep us safe, but playing safe never gets you to a 10x life.
Yeah, we've been taught
And that's ingrained in us.
It's ingrained in us to don't want that.
Yeah,
That's selfish.
Only take what you need. And so I have probably always struggled with that because I've always sort of asked the question, like, well, help me define need, you know? Is that like one bowl of rice a day? Like, what is need? You know, is that one jacket for the rest of my life? You know, is that one pair of shoes until holes get in them? And so everyone thinks they know what that is, but it's always been real like fuzzy for me. So I've always been like, I don't know. But don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting over here saying that I've never had a bit of anxiety and maybe a bit of guilt for wanting what I want and going after those things. Because I think it is part of like growing up and having parents that want to try to keep you safe, that want you to not fall on your face. And that would have been nice to not fall on my face, but that's how I learned everything.
Yeah, I wish, and I've said this before, really wish I was one of those people that could learn from other people's pain.
No, yeah,
I've never been that person.
Yeah, me neither.
I've had to learn from my own pain over and over and over again. And I would love to just sit here and say, I watched so-and-so go through this and it taught me this, but I've never been that guy.
It took me like 2 years to not keep driving forward and just falling into someone's triangle.
Yeah,
you know what
and me
I'm saying?
both. I'll dive in there now.
I'm just like, man, when am I going to learn? It's not anyone else's fault. It's my fault. I keep moving forward. I think that how many times were we getting swept by moving forward and they would just trap that little arm and sort of like, it took forever. It took until Chico said, hey, you know how you pass guard? Don't pass guard. Don't get in there, guard.
Right.
I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that seems simple.
But as you progress in life and business, and as you get better
in jiu-jitsu,
and jiu-jitsu, trying old tactics doesn't work. You've got to integrate some new tactics.
Yeah, probably.
Because at white belt,
just driving forward,
I could drive forward and break that. I could break the triangle.
Yeah.
At purple belt, they've perfected it.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
Did we hit the abundance and reject scarcity?
I think we did.
Yeah,
but however, we do need to talk about understanding your unique ability a little bit.
Okay, good point.
Because I think, and I've failed to do this, is understand, and this really boils down to understanding your 20%.
Oh, yeah.
What are you the best at?
What is your God-given talent? What are you here on earth to do? What is this for?
So we don't shy away from the faith thing here. And so I really believe that we are created for a very specific purpose.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just going, God, I wish I had a little more clarity on exactly what that is, but I'm getting more and more clear on it.
And so each one of us have a unique ability that is ours.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that is the key. And I think God hid it somewhere just so we would keep striving for it or keep searching for it to do the good that we need to do in the world. And as we pursue goodness, it's revealed to us more and more. In business, in family, in parenting.
Yeah, and he does do a good job of talking about, guiding us to realize what that unique ability is, and then marrying that up with 10xing your life by leveraging that. And like we've said a couple of times, just starting to eliminate 80% and focusing on that 20%. And that 20% that's giving you results is probably lined up with what your unique ability is. That's what's getting you the results. You're doing all these other things because you think you have to. You don't have to. You can outsource that. You can get out of that arena altogether. You can You can delegate and elevate that to someone because that's their unique ability and they're on your team. Whatever.
And when you're running a company, you're really robbing people from using their unique ability
You really
when you
are.
just keep delving into their space.
I'll never forget, man. I thought, who in the world, and this was young, naive Sid, who in the world wants to sit in the dark and crunch numbers and enter data all day long? I'll never find anyone like that. Turns out, freaking there's dozens of people. I've got 5 of them right now that love doing that stuff, and that's their unique ability. They're focused, they're organized, but they want the light off and just grinding numbers to produce reports, and it's super helpful. And I never thought that was a possibility, and they like it. So finding your unique ability and experience radical freedom. Because 10X embraces abundance and rejects scarcity. You good to move on?
I am, but I was going to follow that up.
Okay, go ahead.
Every time I sit with Natasha and she gets like giddy over looking at a spreadsheet, I'm like, I don't understand it.
I do love a spreadsheet.
I don't like a spreadsheet.
I love a spreadsheet. I just don't like spending all the time to put it
to
all
create it.
I'll create real simple ones. And they give me great clarity. I'm constantly on the search for clarity.
Well, I'm constantly on the search for someone to give me clarity.
Yeah, okay. I don't know that I trust those as much. All right. So 10X, the first 3 chapters were the principles. The last 3 chapters are application. And the first chapter, which is chapter 4 in the application section, is uncover your 10X past and clarify your 10X future. That was a good one. All of them are good ones, but I'm just remembering.
You know what I got from this? That your past don't determine your future, but it sure does inform it.
It informs it, and it should give you some confidence moving forward that it's happened before.
Right.
That's what it gave me, because we're sitting here talking, and I'm fired up about things, and he's already hit me with don't be afraid of your wants, but then I start getting a little scared anyways. Like, is it even really possible? I know it says that it should be scary, and it should be seemingly impossible to do, but is it really possible? And then you go back, and it talks about, uncovering your 10X past and think about all the different times that you've 10X'd, and I go, holy cow. That's a lot.
I actually
That's a
got
lot.
I pull my journal out in this section and I started writing down the times that I've 10X'd, and because after hearing him do it, I'm like, I'm making this way too hard.
Yeah.
Because at first I was thinking, when have I ever 10X'd?
Oh yeah. I thought the same thing, and then I start thinking, and then he sort of paints it out for us, and I'm like, oh my God. I started thinking all the way through it. Rehab?
No.
Prison?
I mean, I probably needed to be there a couple times, but going to 2-year school,
Yeah.
getting my first corporate job,
Yeah.
when at that time in the world, corporate jobs were only held by 4-year degree individuals.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting fired from the corporate world.
Interesting 10X. Go ahead.
Starting my business.
There we go.
I would have never done that had I not experienced that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So just going through producing the first book.
Oh, that's a big push.
Yeah. Anytime any first you have in your life, that's probably a 10X.
It's a big one. How about putting your kid in the car seat the day you're leaving the hospital? How about that one, Austin? That one's
that's a good one, Austin.
I remember being so scared, going, "Oh my God, how did I get here?" Well, that was tough.
Yeah.
I actually thought about that in the whole 10X exercise. Going, I thought that was seemingly impossible. Now, no problem. I changed Charlie's diapers yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, or was it the day before? Easy, just boom, 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 done. It was seemingly impossible at first, with my first child. I was like,
walking.
I don't even know what to do, and blah. I'm gonna get stuff everywhere. I don't want to touch that, But I digress.
I walked in the house the first time with Austin, and looked at him and said,
You ruined my life?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
what do I do now?
Yeah.
How do I
man.
pay for this thing?
Oh, I know, man. I know.
I think I paid pretty good. Look at him.
Yeah.
He's been eating.
He's got a Henley. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been
Henley.
looking for
Look at
those.
that. I gave him that.
So the subtitle of that one is "You've done it before, you'll do it again." Highly recommend you read that. Read the whole damn thing, but this chapter was good, and it set up nicely because it gave me some confidence that I've done it before. Fair enough.
Don't let your past define your future, but let it inform it. Yep. It's a great chapter.
The next one's going to be Keith's favorite.
I'm not here yet.
Yeah, take 150 plus free days per year, which the subtitle is "Escape Factory Time and Open Your Schedule for." What is that word? Is it Kairos?
Kairos.
Kairos,
yes.
Flow, fun, and transformation. You're gonna have to take the. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about free your time so you can think, free your time so you can go into your 20%, free up your time, eliminate that 80% so you can be focused in on that unique ability.
If you have designated tasks every day inside your company as a creator or entrepreneur, there's no time to envision the future.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying.
I agree.
And I've seen it benefit in my life. I'm not at 150 days a year.
No.
I don't know that I'm close to that.
It's a lot of days, man.
It's a lot of days.
It's almost half the days.
Yeah.
In a year.
Yeah. Do I have half the days free of? No.
Well,
but the days that I do set aside to say, hey, I have no agenda today except thinking about the future. It's a good day.
Well, so for for context to the reader, he's really using Dan Sullivan as sort of the guide in this chapter.
Right.
And he's a consultant. He creates, would you say products?
He does.
He creates products.
Yeah,
products and things that he uses for his clients. And so he's able to set up his world around meeting with clients, gathering information, then thinking about his clients, and freeing up his calendar to create products that most of them are dealing with, or what are the trends that he's seeing that they're going to need to sidestep or pivot from or towards. So it makes sense.
And you know what what you get out of this chapter is this. Be intentional with the days that you take off.
It's a good one. Set your calendar.
Yeah, set your calendar.
Set your calendar. Delegate the things that you can delegate. And really what I got out of it.
To even get close to there, you're going to have to understand your 20.
I was going to say, man, just figuring out what your 20% is. Figuring out what your 20% is has caused me to say no to lots of things in the last couple of months.
You and me both.
I've gotten out of groups. I've gotten into other things. I've actually done less jiu-jitsu, I've just been kind of honing in on what that 20% is,
I think it worked. You absolutely crushed at the last tournament.
Yeah, I did. Oh, God, I did. I didn't think about
you
that.
were-
I didn't even think about that.
You were like on fire.
I was.
You were literally on fire when you came off the mat, and I had to rub your forearm.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah.
It was like yeah, I was super dehydrated, man. I was up for a long time. Took a flight from Austin right into New Orleans and had a fight like 20 minutes after I landed, or 30 minutes after I landed, really.
One of the notes that you wrote really defines taking 150 free days off a year.
Okay.
The higher and more specific the decision-making process becomes when you have to think 10x.
Yeah.
You've got to think very specifically to say, I'm going to take. The higher and more specific the goal, the higher and more specific the decision-making process becomes. Yeah. So when you say, I've got to take 150 days a year, it's going to make you have a goal that's very, very specific.
So true. So let's start to get to this last chapter, and we'll kind of summarize this because maybe everyone's tired of us rapping on and on about this book, but it did really affect us. The last chapter is build a self-managing company, evolve from micromanager to transformational leader.
That sounds easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some things I'll micromanage a little bit, and lots of things I won't. But the micromanage are the details that they really matter to me. But because I think that those are the differences that will make the difference. Does that make sense? But either way, building a self-managing company. What do you think, Keith?
I think it's harder than it sounds.
Yeah. I understand what he's saying, though.
I do. I don't know that you could ever fully build a self-managing company. I think it always has to have vision.
Yeah. Well, I think it always has to have someone driving the ship. Here's the way I think about it. And I use the word ship all the time. You're on a boat. Let's say you're in the Coast Guard. Let's say you're traveling from Honolulu to Anchorage, Alaska. That's going to take you about a week, right? So you set the course and you move, right? You're heading in the right direction. You'll even have folks that it's their job once an hour to take GPS and 2 other positioning sort of data and make sure that you're on course, and you're always going to be a little off, so you just course correct from that. Even that, the captain has to come up and sort of put his or hers eyes on that and then see beyond just what the protocol is, have the experience of where they're trying to go and what's coming up. And someone, like you said, has to have the vision to see what's coming down the pike. Maybe there's weather. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's whatever. But someone's got to be in charge. So the idea, and Mike Michalowicz, I know what he's talking about with Clockwork, is like, hey, you should be able to get away for a month. I don't disagree for a month. But the idea that you're going to be gone for 4 months, 6 months, and nothing's falling apart, no decay, I think is, well, maybe that's my scarcity mindset. But I think it's seemingly impossible, and maybe that's where I need to press in on the 10x mindset, because I think it's, once you think you've got something figured out here, something that you thought you had fixed crops back up, but in a little bit different way, and you're just constantly sort of tweaking things to keep it moving in the right direction.
I think without consistent leadership, and I would say to build a self-managing company where you could just totally, and I've never met an individual that has created a company that can just continue to run without their presence at some point, because you always see culture erode.
Oh, yeah.
I think the eroding of culture happens if the company has no one to continue to build the vision.
Sure. I agree.
And so self-managing company to me, and this is how I would frame it, is a company that I could just guide the culture of as the leader.
Oh, okay. So where you don't have day-to-day duties.
Right.
And that's probably what he's talking about. I probably took it too literal anyways.
Well, there's a story actually in the book of where he talks about that. I can't remember which chapter it's in, but there's where he talks about that there's a guy that created a company, and so he comes in now, and his sole job, and I think it's in this chapter, 30 days a year to guide the culture.
Because you can't outsource that. It's
You
got to
can't
get set by
outsource.
somebody.
It's got to get set by somebody.
It's got to be
and if
intentional.
And you as the leader do not set it, someone else will, and it will be a culture that you do not want.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
However, I'm doing another 30 days this year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing if things work out.
February 19th
Through
the March
Okay.
20th, something like that.
Yeah. Austin's very glad that you've allowed him to put that on his calendar.
Yeah.
This just in.
I mean, I'm going to ski. I worked a little bit last time.
Oh, yeah. I did too.
Yeah, but I'm going to ski a month.
Okay.
I got 19 days in last year on the slope.
Yeah, I got 15.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can do more than that.
More than 19? Are your legs ready? You haven't been working
Probably
out.
not. I've not been working out. I'm resting for my ski trip.
I hear you. Crafting.
So, create the culture. Create a company that you can guide the culture, yet delegate and elevate people to do the work.
Yeah.
That's a self-managing company.
I agree. Well, look, we clearly, this book, because, I mean, I've gone back and read other parts because I've thought about some things. I've pulled back up the audio and listened to it on the way to work a couple of different times, thinking about something.
One of the greatest things about the audiobook is at the end of every chapter on the audiobook, he interviews Dan Sullivan. So there's extra content in the audiobook. So go get that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the link is still out there either, but we both posted a link where you can get the free ebook.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's still.
Yeah,
so go find our LinkedIn
LinkedIn,
post.
yeah.
Go find our LinkedIn post, and you can get the free ebook like now.
Really, this book did change the way I looked at what is possible, how I'm approaching goal setting, how I'm approaching my life, how striving for higher goals start to limit my options that I thought. Really, all it was fear that kind of kept me from doing that, because having options is a hell of a lot more safe, you know?
Oh, definitely. We love options.
Yeah, but like I said before, I mean, I've been on this kick for clarity, and that creates a tremendous amount of clarity. It just makes it, you just got to burn the boats to go after it.
It lets me know what I need to get up and do every day.
Oh, yeah.
And what I don't need to do every day. And when I find myself in those, I hate to use the word menial task, habits, I would call them habits.
Okay.
Negative habits.
Negative, okay.
Are habits that somebody else needs.
Well, they're just in your 80%.
Yeah.
They're in your 80%. It's probably on your job description right now, but it's in an 80%.
It's made me more aware of them.
Yeah, me too.
This book made me more aware of what my 80% actually is, and what my 20% is, and where I need to stay. And when I stay in the 20%, I'm happier.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm making better progress.
Better progress.
And I feel better about that. It's actually given me, I guess, the confidence to go ahead and say no more. Remember I said, I don't know if it was a couple of podcasts ago, but, Warren Buffett says the difference between successful people and really, really, really successful people is that really, really successful people say no a hell of a lot more. So the difference is the amount of times they say no. That's given me, having the 10X mindset has allowed me to gain a lot more focus on what I'm moving towards. And like I said before, it's not always quantitative, it's qualitative. And it's allowed me to say, no, that's not what I want to do, because how many times do you get hey, could you do this? It's just going to be 15 minutes. Or, hey, could you just stop by? Could I get just 1 hour of your time? Could I buy you coffee? Could I do that? Could I do this here? And I don't want to ever be mean. Hell, we have a podcast. with the sole intention to try to help people become who they want to become through the stories and experiences we've had. I don't want to say no to someone, but I have to if I'm going to get to where I'm trying to go. You know?
It still humbles me when people come up and say, I listen to your podcast.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
But I get
that guy I slammed on his neck that a couple Saturdays ago didn't say that.
No.
He was being all like chirpy with me, like kind of basically telling me he was going to beat me. I
saw that.
I got a little fired up. I picked that dude up over my head and was, whoa, whoa.
Did I tell you I stepped up to super heavy?
Oh, you did the other day. You did.
It's gonna be
day.
fun.
That'll be fun.
Yep.
All right. Any final words on this?
No, man. Like I said, we've been talking about the book. I'm glad we finally did it.
Me too. It probably wasn't our best, but if anything, if we got our listener to go read it and start to change their life, that'll be worth it.
I think everyone needs to read this book. Stephanie, my wife, said it's helping her.
Okay.
So make everybody read.
My wife is 100% not reading this book.
Yeah.
There's zero chance of that. And the weird thing is, she probably doesn't need to. Intuitively, she knows what makes her happy, and she just does that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange.
Well, if you don't know what makes you happy and know where your unique ability is, this helps you find it.
That's a good point. Any parting words of wisdom?
Hey, go subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh, thank God. Keith coming in clutch with that. Yeah.
Go to the website. You'll get a pop-up. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's pretty cool. We're doing 5 questions with entrepreneurs. So they're cool questions, and probably you want to know about them. So go do that.
Please, check out our sponsors,
We do. Hey, we'll also T-shirts.
Oh, my God,
we got the overlap T-shirts.
We got some T-shirts. If you'd like a T-shirt, message us.
Message us. We'll get it up on the site, too, where you can buy it there.
Yeah.
Austin, do we have a store on the T-shirt on the website?
We have a lot of products that are linked to Amazon.
Okay,
but we've got to put a store up because we have T-shirts now. Okay,
we'll
cool.
do that.
We'll get that done.
Things seemingly impossible, but we'll get done now.
Yes,
with setting that goal by Tuesday.
I'm
just joking. Okay. Hey, check out our sponsors. Utilize them. Hey, if you are a fan of this podcast, hey, thank you very much. If you would like to help sponsor this podcast, please do reach out to us there. You can find us on our website. You can find us on social media. You can find us.
We have 2 options now, so you can either you can be on the show.
Yeah.
Of course, if you get listed on the show, it's a little more money. And you can just be on our website. Our website's really growing. Every week we have new users that's coming there, and we link directly to your product from there. So,
and let's be honest, we're thinking 10x here, in order to get to where we're trying to go and to reach the amount of people we're trying to reach, it's going to take a little more money, which requires a little more sponsorship. But I believe that the core principle still remains the same, that we deal with people that we know, we like, we trust, and we believe in their product, and that we can feel comfortable telling our audience to utilize them. At the same time, for the sponsor, it works out great because they already have rapport built and trust built through us. How about that? That's just off the fly, bro. I know, man. I hope that got recorded. So, if you're thinking about sponsoring the podcast, just reach out. I think it's a good deal. I think what we've got going on. I'm a believer now. Yeah, because we hear from our sponsors a lot.
We do.
I'm actually having lunch with one of our sponsors in just a little bit, and he's a big fan of the sponsorship. It's working out well for him.
Sweet. We read some testimonials this morning from people that was pretty kind. Their words were kind. That still humbles me too.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening us get through this book. Clearly, it made a big difference with us. Thanks for checking out our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors so much. And I hope you guys have a great holiday or holidays. I know this is the podcast world, so you might not be listening to it during this time, but most of y'all listen when it comes
put
up.
us on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah,
In
don't
your
do that.
house.
Okay, Thanksgiving Day. Do you listen to the Turkey song by or the Adam Sandler? Turkey.
Oh,
for
yes,
me
I love that.
and a
Yeah,
turkey for
yeah, I
do
like
too.
that.
I listen to Alice's Restaurant all the time too.
Yeah, I like that.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Austin, you don't know that one, do you? Oh my God.
Austin, will this podcast be out by Thanksgiving?
It's Arlo Guthrie.
No, it won't, will it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So we just
Yeah.
talked about Thanksgiving. Well, just listen to us on Christmas.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. Driving to wherever you're
No,
going.
watch
for
us on.
Christmas.
Put us on TV. You put us
Yeah.
on the TV in your living
Oh
room.
my God. All right. I got to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Go buy the 10X book. You can buy it on our site.
Yeah.
Links in our show notes. Thank you.
Yeah, please go buy it because we need something from Dr. Hardy.
Yeah.
Since we just talked about him for an hour.
We did. All right. Well, thanks so much. I'll talk to y'all later.
Peace.